Hey folks, this is Tracy with Scrappy's Rustics. In this video, I'm going to show you how to cast a mold using IOD air dry clay. In this tutorial, you should be able to do one no problem when you're done. So we have our air dry clay, we have cornstarch. You can use a generic kind, doesn't need to be the fancy kind. I keep mine in a separate little dish because I live in Florida and it's humid as all get out. So I just put a little bit in my little container at a time. You want two size of brushes. One brush will work too. I used the Dollar Tree cheap ones and I was finding the little hairs all in my molds and everywhere. So get a decent brush, just a makeup brush. So we're just going to do a couple of these molds. You do not have to put cornstarch in your molds, but I recommend that you do. It's easier to get them out. So this is He Loves Me mold. The other one is Roses. I am an IOD stockist, so these products can be found on my website at scrappysrustics.com, along with a lot of other goodies. So I'm just putting the cornstarch in my mold. The more intricate ones, or the deeper ones, be mindful and get the sides and the edges. They also sell some type of baking tool where you can put your cornstarch in there and kind of tap it in there, and you just want to tap out any excess, which I haven't done that yet, but I will, I think. So we're just going to do those couple of leaves. I don't really remember what we end up doing here, but you will be, there we go. We're tapping out the excess cornstarch, and that is just a Wilson silicone mat that I got from the baking department. A lot of stuff to use for air dry clay can be found in the baking aisles, so don't ever pass those aisles up. You'll get the perfect cast if you end up with the perfect amount of clay. That's hard to do, y'all. I still can't master that. So when you are casting it, you see I'm pushing down and pushing out. IOD has a micro rim, which makes it really nice to cut your edges off nice and even and flush. Other molds do not have that, and it's a little bit difficult to get a nice clean edge. The cleaner your edge, the less work you have to do afterwards, and the easier it will come out of your mold. Try to get your back as flat as possible, because when it goes to your surface, you want it to sit as flat as possible. If you don't push it down in the middle and you don't have enough clay there, when you go to put it on your surface, then it's going to kind of concave in a way. If you're starting out new, I would start with little molds like this little flower here. Stay away from the big ones. Build your confidence, see how it feels, get the feel of it. You know what you got to, because look how easy that little guy was right there. Some molds, I'll tell you, if you use too much clay, you're going to struggle, but you'll get it done. You'll get it done. Just keep pushing down and pushing out. If you have to add clay, I suggest you add it. Don't add it to the very corner that's empty, but add it right before it. That way all the clay melts together, and it's a less chance of it cracking and whatnot as it dries. By the nature of air dry clay, it's going to shrink. It's going to want to crack. But there's a few steps you can take to try to avoid that. It's not a guarantee. But when you, right after you cast it, if you take it out and you put your, I use Type On Quick and Thick. If you put your glue and get it all the way to the edges, not real thick, just all the way to the edges, and put it on your surface of choice, and push it down. Just keep an eye on it. By the glue being all the way on in the entire surface and the edges, it's going to dry and shrink to form that fit. So you have a less chance of it, cracking. But it does happen. I like it when it cracks sometimes, to be honest with you. So the more time you spend cleaning off the edges while it's in the mold, the less time you're going to have to clean it up when you pop it out. You can use any kind of air dry clay. I do not like paper clay. I think it's too wet and mushy. Out of all the clays that I've used, IOD is a little bit more expensive, but it's very, very pliable. If you have issues with your hands, arthritis, or any of that, it's very easy to work with, especially when you wash your hands afterwards. Your hands feel like silk. And out of all the clays, it shrinks and cracks the least. So now we're ready to pop these out. So I'm going to show you, if you don't want to use your molds right away, you can get an airtight container, wax paper, and you're going to layer them in there as flat as you can. If you got to layer them up, just layer them as flat as you can. Put wax paper in between, and you can freeze them. All right, so now we're going to pop them out. When you want to pop them out, you want to pull. See how I'm pulling back? I'm pushing and pulling. I'm making the mold do the work, so I don't pull and tug and pull on my clay and distort it. That little piece came off, but we can fix that, no problem. So when you put these in the freezer, you can leave them up to about 3 weeks. And then when you take them out, see that little bit of, I call it flashing. We're just taking our hand, or you can take a tool and just clean it up right there. And easy to do. You're better off doing it now. And after, when they're frozen, depending on the size of the mold and the thickness, it could take anywhere from 5 to 30 minutes to thaw out. And when they thaw out, they are like you just casted them. It's great, but don't leave them in there any more than 3 weeks. Or if they get freezer, it's kind of like thinking of a loaf of bread. You leave it in there too long, it gets kind of, you know, cruddy and not dry rotted, but kind of freezer burnt. So you don't want that to happen. So, but if you got a big project to do and maybe you're going to go live and you need a lot of pieces, it takes time to cast them. So this is the best way to do it. So I said, forget that flower there. So I hope if you have been hesitant to try some molds and casting them, that this video helps you in some way. Subscribe, like, follow, share, do all the things. Thank you so much for watching.